Thank you very much for this warm welcome. I'll just say a few words about the project itself, because it started 2 years ago from the idea of bringing together the two cultures, France and Scotland, and reflecting on the heritage of early Scottish theologians such as Duns Scotus, who was born in the village of Duns, was educated in France, and was buried in Cologne. So he had this kind of European dimension to his work. This inspired the creation of an existential network with the aim of trying to have wider recognition of the role that Scotland has played and continues to play in shaping conceptions of human existence, cultural specificity, and individual and universal values in the modern world. The first event was a conference we organized last September at the University of Glasgow on the topic of the early philosophical exchanges in the Middle Ages between Scotland and France up to the 17th century. We had participants from Europe, of course, mostly from Francophone countries, and for the present series of events, our topic will be translation, diaspora, and nomad thought. You've heard already of the concept of geopoetics. You'll hear more about nomad thought, about geopoetics, and we are most grateful to Kenneth White himself for being here with us today as a representative of this Franco-Scottish alliance. I would like to thank the College of Arts for its invaluable support with the organization of a 3-day series of events extending from the University of Glasgow onto the Kelvin Hall, the new Hunterian Art Gallery. Then we move on the second day to the Alliance Française and indeed to the French Institute in Edinburgh. I'm also very grateful to the School of Modern Languages and Cultures, who has provided logistics and financial support with the organization of this series of events. Of course, we work in partnership with the Royal Society of Edinburgh and with our two French external partners, the Alliance Française and the French Institute in Edinburgh. I mustn't forget our two research assistants who are here with us today, John Spears and Iraklis Ioannidis. They have done an invaluable work in designing the poster, the program, and indeed keeping everything well organized and on time. Christelle Loriguet is our web designer, and I hope you will be curious to go and explore what is on the Existential Network website. We have a virtual learning environment, which is meant not only for the students at Glasgow, but also for people interested more generally in existential philosophy and literature, in geopoetics, and in Kenneth White's work. I would like to mention a few of the highlights for today and the following days. One of them is the opportunity to see a rare documentary film, Nomad. Our Dean, Professor O'Malley, mentioned already this documentary. It was made by BBC Scotland in 1997, and you will see it sort of illustrates Kenneth White's influence at the time in France as well as in Scotland. Another, I think, important moment today will be the possibility of listening to some of the most important specialists in the field of geopoetics, and indeed in Kenneth White's work. Professor Kenneth Craig will give a talk today, and you will also be able to listen to Alistair McIntosh, who is the founder of the Gal Gael Trust, and we'll talk a little bit about the influence that geopoetics has had in Scottish society nowadays, so moving on from the more theoretical aspects to some practical aspects. And indeed, you will be able to meet and talk to the president, the director of the Scottish Centre for Geopoetics, Norman Bissell, who will be here with us today, and meet some of the representatives of the International Geopoetics Institute, who will give a talk tomorrow at the Alliance Française. So, just to mention that there is a second documentary film in French about the travels, Kenneth White's travels to Japan, and you will be able to see this tomorrow at the Alliance Française. We start in the afternoon at 3 o'clock. However, the first part of the program tomorrow includes a visit to the Galgale Trust in Govan, and a visit of the Govan Old Church and the Govan Stones, because these are emblematic sites for the local Celtic tradition and the way in which geopoetics, in a sense, has a very special place in Glasgow today. So I hope you will enjoy all the events we're proposing these 3 days, and do come back in the afternoon at the Kelvin Hall when we have a poetry recital. Kenneth White has kindly agreed to give us a poetry recital with poems chosen especially for us today. And there will be an opportunity to ask questions, to talk about his journeys and about geopoetics. The film we're going to show at the Kelvin Hall in the lecture theatre is the documentary Nomad, which is in English. It was made by BBC Scotland, as I was saying. And do come back tomorrow. Don't forget there is a visit, as I was saying, in the morning. We will provide further details how to get to the Galgale Trust in Govan, and where we'll meet to go there. And in the afternoon we'll be at the Alliance Française, where there is a physical exhibition with panels with information about Kenneth White's life and work in France and in Great Britain. These are in French, but there will be a translation provided of much of what is going to be said, or what you'll be able to see as far as the second documentary is concerned as well. So thank you very much for your presence here today, and do come back and join us for the rest of the festivities in Glasgow as well as in Edinburgh. And you can also obviously follow us on Twitter and on Facebook